Hey, so what's going on there, all YouTubers? So I decided to change up the schedule on what the next video was going to be. Since I'm up here at the dealership, I had to take my truck in for a state inspection. So I thought, why don't I give you guys a review on what my next truck's going to be? But as you can see, since of where I'm at a Ford dealership, and that's what my next truck's going to be. It's going to be it's one of these guys right here, Ford F-150. Now, I know there's going to be some people in the comments who are going to be hating, oh, you drive a Ford, it's going to die on you. Well, I have to say, I drove every single truck out there. I drove a Ford, a Chevy, a Dodge, a GMC, a Toyota. I drove them all. I mean, when it came down to it, some of the factors I was looking for in a truck was safety, fuel economy, styling, technology, and towing and hauling capability. So I drove all the trucks. Like I said, I drove them all, and I started weeding out some of the ones I didn't like. I got rid of the Ram because it wasn't as safe. And the styling was getting to be old, and it wasn't very nice looking on the interior. It got terrible gas mileage. So I got rid of the Ram. I went and looked at a Nissan Titan, the new one. I drove the diesel and the gas version, and I didn't really want a diesel because, of course, the upfront cost to buy a diesel is so expensive. So I was like, nah, I don't need a diesel. So I drove the gas. It was nice. It was smooth running. But I just didn't like that there was stuff that was in the way, like the steering column shifter got in the way of some of the knobs on the dash. When you got up on like the interstate and you were just cruising around, you could hear the truck idle hunting. And it didn't get the greatest fuel economy either. So I was like, all right, that truck's gone. And I got down to the Toyota. I drove that one. It was okay. The main reason why I got rid of the Toyota was it wasn't as safe, and the styling was old. And the frame. I'm not going to drive a truck that's got a C-section frame and it's not fully boxed. I want that real smooth ride, but I don't want all that flexing going on. So I got rid of the Toyota. Then it got down to the Ford, the Chevy, and the GMC. Now the Chevy and the GMC are pretty much identical. But there was a couple factors on that one. It had real good styling. It was relatively safe if you had certain packages linked up to it. Like if you had the collision avoidance system, the blind spot monitoring system, and all the 9 yards. If you had all of those packages, then the truck became very safe. But it didn't get the greatest fuel economy, and also I didn't really like the cylinder deactivation system because that's kind of old tech. And what I felt is I drove the Chevy and the GMC for a day. I went to a dealership that they allowed you to drive it for a day. So I took it out and, drove it around town, drove highway. I drove, how I would drive. And what I found out is when I was on the highway, and when the cylinders went down to 4 cylinders, I noticed the truck would lose speed. And I had to constantly keep pushing for power, and then the other cylinders would kick back in. So I wasn't liking that. And then I got down to the Ford. And the Ford is what ultimately that I picked with. And the Ford was the last one I drove. So it wasn't the first one, it was the last one I drove. Because I knew that I'm slightly biased to Ford, but I wasn't going to be, that was the benchmark. I wanted to get a feel for the other vehicles first and then see what a Ford was like. I'm going to show you this truck right behind me, this blue one. That's going to be the color of mine, but I'm going to have these, either the Sport or the Black Edition on my 150 in a Super Crew with I don't know which EcoBoost motor yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. Ooh, that's a hot hood. Let me go back to this one. Like I said, I'm kind of on the edge of which EcoBoost. I don't know if I still want a 2.7 or the 3.5. It will probably be a 2018 model when they're going to be coming out with all their new revisions and on a 10-speed. So which you'll get a little bit more. Either which one will get better fuel economy. And plus two, they got the new revamped styling coming out, which looks really good. I definitely have to give it up to Ford. You know, they keep upping that bar. The other things the reason why I went with Ford was all the stuff you get. I mean, there's not too many of the other trucks out there that can get a fuel economy of like a 2.7 and it can still haul 2,000 pounds and tow 9,000 pounds when properly equipped. That's the thing you always gotta look for is you have to make sure that the truck is properly equipped to tow that much. But I mean, like I said, mine's gonna be in a blue with the black or sport edition. For me, 4-wheel drive is not a big thing, and plus two, it costs more. It costs like another $3,000-$4,000. So my truck's gonna be 2-wheel drive, but mine's gonna be a 6.5 foot bed, like on the Ford, right? Like this one right here. I'm gonna show you, because this is a super cab. I'm going with this bed on that truck right back, that gray or that grayish black one right behind me. So you know, then there was some other things, you know, the extra tie down spots in the Ford was, you know, they had, you know, they were better space. The lighting in the bed I found really cool. I was up at one of the dealerships during the night and I looked at it and it puts out a lot of light. And that was another thing I didn't really understand is why did Ram and GM, why did they put their lighting in the truck? You have to constantly keep going back and forth if you want to put light in the bed, where you can just go in, like in the Ford, the light's in the bed, you just push the button and the light turns on. I thought that was actually pretty smart, instead of having to keep going back and forth. Let's see, what else did I say why I chose? Oh yes, and the number one most important thing was safety. Ford got the only truck in the segment to be the safest truck on the road, because when I buy this truck's gonna be for down the road events. When I finally start a family, you know, have kids, this truck's gonna be around for a while. So I wanted to make sure that the truck I was gonna buy was gonna be safe and still fun. That's another. That was one of the most important things. Was this truck's got to be fun to drive. So I mean, if you guys got any comments about, you know, what your truck buying experience was, you know, put them in the comments. You know, you share how you bought your truck or how your decision was. The next video, I'm definitely going to be going over my Explorer, showing you what all I've done to it. Like I said, I just changed up the schedule, or changed up the video process, because like I said, I'm up here at Beach Ford here in Virginia Beach. This big building right here behind me. Have my truck state inspected for the 19th time. So if you live somewhere in Virginia, anywhere that's close to the Tidewater area, and you need a Ford, come down to Beach Ford. They'll hook you up right. So see you in the next video.